Hello everyone, it's Marie from Skeletorama again. Welcome back to my channel, Fatirash. So how is everybody? So we are on episode 2 and we are going to start doing some more of the stuff with the wall construction, with the door, with the prep for the trim and things of that nature. We're also going to be visited by a very special guest, the ghost of future dollhouse builders, whatever, visiting past me with a dire warning. So if you're going to follow along and do one of these projects yourself, please pay attention to that particular one, because that was a massive duh. So anyways, you guys will see that in a few minutes. Hope you enjoy. All right, so this has dried enough. I've taken the tape off and we can paint both ends. Now, technically one of them I don't really have to paint because it's going to be glued to the wall, but you know, since that is blue, and the off chance that anybody sees any of it peeking out, I wanted to see nothing really. Just the black. All right, so I'll put that on fast forward and I will knock these out real quick. So that is the first coat. So as you can see by how that looks, I'm obviously gonna have to do a second coat on it. So as soon as that dries, we will do that. So be right back. All right, so this is nice and dry and had that second coat on it. And then, you know, if I get it out there and it looks like it needs more to blend in, of course I can just put it in out there, that's fine. Okay, so we have it with our door side marked. This is the direction of the angle, so this is our front surface where we're going to have our wainscoting and our wallpaper and all that stuff that we can do here. And that's the nice thing about this, is also once we decide on the wallpaper for the other side, we can go ahead and wallpaper this while it's on the desk too. So that works. This I probably would want to do in the room just so I can make sure I get this, you know, get it up to the ceiling the way I want it. But anyway, so how are we going to do this? Well, I got a few things. So I have some more of my beloved, haha, lol, pre-finished. This is stair rail molding, but the shape and size of it is what I want to use. I had some extra baseboards left, but I only had 2. And in order to do this, I need one for this side, and then in the dollhouse, I need one for the other side and one for that back wall. So it's going to go here like so. And then for the wood portion of it, it's going to be these right here, these little popsicle stick things. So I think I'm going to do the one where these go all the way across, which means I'm going to have to stain a whole ton of these little sticks, which should be, yeah, super fun. Probably have to stain on, I'll just stain the whole thing here and we'll put them on. But, so we'll have that to do. Oopsie, come on. And then I've decided on, for wallpaper, I'm going to go with this one here. So this is the Bow Bunny double dot. This is in some color. Oh, what does it say? Decaf Vintage. So it's kind of like a yellowish brownish color. And I'm going to use this. I originally was thinking of using this one here, but I only have 2 sheets and I would need more than that because again I have to do not only this wall but the one at the end and the one on the other side for continuity, right? Because when you get into having this stuff, it's less of an accent wall situation, right? You're going to want it to be it's too busy down here to mess with doing an accent wall. So they're all going to be the same. This is nice. It's got a pattern to it, but the pattern's not overwhelming. So I think this would probably be a good choice for us here. All right. So in order to accomplish this, I need to take at least 3 of these here. And I'm going to paint them brown like I did that other stuff. Get out of the way. And then of course, I'm going to stain a whole ton of these. I did get 2 bags because this is also what I'm going to use for the plaster lath kind of stuff in the attic area on the other side. So, but that's not in this one. This stuff's coming up. All right, so I also took the liberty of taking these and laying a bunch of them out, and actually where this door placement is really good. So what we'll do is we're gonna have, you know, this here and this here, and then that seam between them is gonna be open. So I think it would probably be best, I'm trying to think, for doing the door is, I'm going to cut the door out first, because that way I can put my wallpaper on and put the door back in its little spot. I can put my wallpaper on in one piece and attach it to the door and this, and then I can flip it over and put my utility knife in from the back to cut it on this part here on the front, if that makes sense, right? So yeah, that means we need to cut the door, which is, this is the nerve-wracking part, because I've got my little wall all pretty, and man, if I mess this door up, I'm going to be upset. So here's hoping I don't mess the door up. No pressure or anything. Okay, so there we are. Just like with the other stuff, I'm going to use this square, and I love these because these really help you to make sure it's square, that you're not going off on a weird angle anywhere. All right, so we're going to cut along this line here. And since we're not putting a traditional door, obviously it doesn't have to match any size of the dollhouse doors or anything, but it's like normal. We're going to do a nice light scribe right along the side here. In this one, I'm going to do it as carefully and as cleanly as possible. So we'll make sure we're going through the back pretty good. This again is going to have wallpaper on it too, so it's not as big of a deal. Just make sure I've gotten through back all the way. All right, so I'm going to go over here and I'm going to connect the two. This will be the nerve-wracking part here. All right, so in theory, then this should push right out nice and clean. And it does. Yay! Okay, so here's our door. I got a little piece there. Okay, there we are. Here's our door. And now it's going to go in here. So the way we're going to attach this door, in order for it to push in and open, we're going to want to hinge it on the back, right? So it'll come in this way. Boop. But considering the thickness of this, it's going to be tough to open, I think. So we're probably going to have to do something in here and here to kind of encourage this to smoothly open. But I can tell you, for the back hinge, of course I need it to lay flush. Get this little stuff out of here. It's going to bug the crap out of me. Okay, so what I'm going to use is Tyvek. So Tyvek you can get by recycling envelopes, like when you have the priority mail envelopes. I always save those. And so that's going to go on here because Tyvek is really tough material. It's going to make a nice thin hinge that can then go underneath the wallpaper, because this is going to have just straight wallpaper on the back, right? So it'll cover it, but this should give us a nice hinge here. But like I said, the question is, how do we get it so that this door freely turns? Okay, The problem here is you're wanting it to turn on this axis, but this needs to go out this way. So I may have to do something to kind of widen this. So it's got, maybe take a wedge out of this. It wouldn't be as big of a deal if you're seeing this from the back, because you're in the secret room. You already know it's there. The one we really want to make sure it's concealed from is from the front. Right, so get that in there. So I'm going to have a sink here, and I will come back to you guys when I've figured out exactly how I want to accomplish it, because I knew that was going to be a problem. So I'll be back to you guys in a few minutes. Okay, so I've had a minute to look at it without being silent on the camera. Anyway, all right, so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this out here. I've also put a T so that I know which one's the top of this door when I go put it back in. But so I'm going to hold it up here. I don't know if you guys can see this very well. Kind of hard to see. So the problem's going to be when you go to open it, this front edge is going to need to clear here. So it's going to go in about, say about 1/8 of an inch this way. So what should work is if, you know, I have my door here, I'm going to set this to the side so I don't break it, is if I go from the back and I go in about 1/8 of an inch. So there'll be a little bit of a gap, right? So I'll take it in about 1/8 of an inch, and again, I'm going to miter it towards that front, making damn sure that I don't, you know, hit the front of that. So that's what I'm going to do, and that should give it what it needs to be able to swing open and shut. So let's use a ruler. Might be fun. And I'm just going to go through the paper with this, just like we did the top. We're basically going to do what we did to the top. But on a, wow, okay, we're going to not do that. Okay, here we go. We're just going to cut it like so. We're just not going to do it as big of an angle as we did on that one. Okay, so this one I'm going to use the X-Acto for, because I just want to kind of shave a little bit. Actually, that's a little wide, but yeah, to hell with it. We're doing it. I'm just going to cut down here at a fairly shallow angle to that front part. And I really don't think we need a ton. And then what we can do is we can take this part here and we can cover it in, say, black paper, right? So it has a more of a finished look to it. All right, there we go. Get that one little bit. Famous last words. Okay. All right, so again, from the front, it looks exactly the same. Gonna put our door in, looks exactly the same, but now if I hold it, I should be able to swing it back. And if I can't, then I know I need to go in a little bit on my, my angle. If this door is in here like this, it should now be able to swing back and forth on here. Okay, and we'll probably use some sandpaper. Actually, let me do that. Because it would also probably be a good idea to put some black paper on here too, because you're going to see the door. So this way it will kind of make the door look like it's finished, right? So when we do this, we push this open, but we do want it to hold well enough that when it's closed, it'll hold itself closed. I don't want to have to come up with some way to open it. But see, that's moving a lot better in there now. I'll do the same on here. Just kind of smooth that down. It's in here again, and see if it's hinged right there. It's going to swing just fine on here. Okay, so is it going to have a gap here? Yes, but again, we're going to put, you know, some paper in there. We may have to sand it down a little bit to accommodate that, or at least I can paint it and seal it. I can do something to it so that this door edge looks a little more finished. All right, so let's get this back in here. All right, so that was actually not terrible. Wasn't sure how that was going to go. Hi everyone, it's future me. I'm here with a dire warning for all of you and past me, but she's an idiot and she can't hear me anyway, and she'll figure it out soon enough. But when you're making this particular project, there's something that you need to be mindful of that I was not at about this stage. So as I'm putting the door in, I'm making sure it's clearing the floor and everything. I forgot something very important. So let's look at a door built by a professional, shall we? Okay, you see this here? This piece of wood here, it's not just for decoration. Yes, it makes a lovely threshold and everything. It's so the freaking door can clear the flooring. But do you think I thought of that? I did not. So to spare yourself the pain that you will encounter in a much later episode, episode 8, I believe it is, where I have to actually cut the door. Yeah, be mindful of that, and keep your flooring in mind when you do your height of your door bottom that touches the ground. Yeah, brilliant. So anyways, back to our regularly scheduled programs. Okay, so now what we need to do is we're going to need to get our wallpaper and our wainscoting and stuff like that. So what I did is I went outside to the living room where I have the chair rail, and I measured how high up the chair rail is attached. So it's attached at 33 inches, which is just a little shy of 3 feet. So in 1/12 scale, that means it's going to be a little shy of 3 inches. So 2 3/4 inches seemed to be about the correct amount. So we got 1, we got 2, and 1 2 3/4. So if I put that here, and I get another pencil, and I draw a line across here. Okay, this is where the wainscoting is going to go. So our paper should probably go on first, since we're going to need to cut it. So it's going to need to be about, we'll call that 7 3/8 inches high. Let me scoot my wall over this way. We will get the paper trimmer, which I put a new blade in. See if that does anything, but I put a new blade in it. And I'm going to go with my paper. First, I'm going to cut this off, this top strip. So we do not need that. We'll do that with 2 pieces. Okay, so when we put these up there, see how you have this kind of vignette going on here? So we're going to want the vignette to be there. We want to have it at the top of the wall. So first off, we want to make sure that we're using a similar piece. You know, we've got it facing the same way up. That's the hard part. I need a landmark of it. All right, this way. Okay, so what I think I'm going to do, because you've got it goes darker at the corners, I'm going to cut it somewhere in the middle to make the piece that goes over, so that way the vignette that's meeting at the top is at least consistent. Hopefully that sentence made sense to somebody besides me, right? So we'll have it here, where this corner would go here, this corner will go here. We can cut the paper somewhere in the center. And that's over the door, which is fine, because we're going to have something, you know, hanging there we already know to help disguise that fact that that's a secret entrance anyway. Okay, so we can actually, we'll put it centered right over the door. So I'm going to take this one here and this one here. I'm going to line them up. I'm going to pick an arbitrary spot somewhere in the center. And I'm going to put a really bad pencil line there. You know, if I could just do my pencil lines well. All right, let's get this out of the way for a second. And we get our door back in there because that's what we're going to use to write on. Okay, so I'm lining this up with this wall. I'm lining this up with this wall. Are there easier, better ways to do this? Probably. Do I know what they are? I don't. So there you go. All right. I wanted the door in sight so I could see what I was doing. Okay, so we're going to go about there. Okay. So I'm going to set my wall over to the side. I'll get my paper trimmer out. So from this right side, I've got my pencil mark here. I'm going to go just to the outside. I'm giving myself a little bit more room because I don't want to have made a mistake in it and have to cut like 20 pieces of paper. Okay, so we've got that like so. I'll do the same thing on this. I've got my pencil line there, so I'm going to go just a little bit to this side of the pencil line. For the same reason. Make sure this is nice and straight. Okay. Because on the ends, we can sand it off the ends. The ends are easier to deal with. When we go to put the other wall in, we'll do it probably about the same way. So what we'll do is we've got our pattern for that wall, and we will cut this according to our pattern for that wall. But see how we've got this here? These tones match up a lot better than if we had gone, say, here. See how that's really obvious that that's a line in the scrapbook paper? So when you're dealing with paper that has a vignette, that's the best way to do it. Because again, center, your values are really close. You know, so this is close to having cut it like in half. So these are going to match a lot more seamlessly than it will any other way. Okay. And let's get our wall back in. Boop. See, and so it's going to go here, here like this. And so this is the part where, yeah, we've got a little bit of overhang. Instead of fiddling with this, we're going to put it down and then we'll trim it from this side over here. Okay. All right. So there's our two pieces there. And again, we wanted those to be about 7 3/8 inches. That way we can put this over top of that so we have a nice finished edge to it. Instead of trying to have this straight and that straight, and yeah, to hell with that. So I've got my cutter here. So this is my top. So I'm going to go here, and I want this to be 7 3/4 inches. So 7 3/4 inches. And the same with this one. Just make sure you're consistent. You're grabbing it, you know, cutting it from the same direction. So that way, if you make a mistake, at least it's consistent over both pieces. Sad that I have to know how to do that. Okay. I'll bring this back in here. So again, here we are. Nope. Come on. There we go. We've got our two pencil lines to meet up, so that'll make it much easier. Okay, so we've got this here, like so. And then we're going to have this, and it's going to sit right here. And then you're going to have the wood paneling stuff down there, okay? So what we can do, if we like, is we can go ahead and put this on, which I think would probably not be a bad idea. Again, if we have any kind of small gap or anything at the top, that's what we have our crown molding for. Okay, so let's erase our pencil line and erase our other pencil line. Okay, and this is going to go down just like everything else with the Fabrifix. Clean up this. And this, of course, I'm just going to put down by the piece. I'm not going to try to put this all over the wall. Okay, so on this, I'm just going to go towards the edge. I don't have to go exactly up to the edge. I do want to be close. The goal is that your glue will squish to the edge once you push it down. Okay, so we're going to go here, 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 and then do a nice liberal amount because, again, this is what's going to stick it down, so it's going to keep it down. And then just line this up. We've got our door where it's supposed to be. I want this to go all the way back. It's going to cover the edge of this board that we put in there. Make sure my door is lined up like it should be, and it is. Okay, I'm going to press this down. All right, and then this is going to butt up right against that, so it's as seamless as we can get it. We're going to do the same thing. I'm not going to worry as much about this front edge because I already know that it hangs over by about a 1/4 of an inch-ish. And then we butt that up against there. Voila. Okay, and the nice thing with this stuff is being acetone based, it does dry pretty quick. So we're not going to have to wait several hours. I mean, I am going to wait before I cut the door free, but I'm not going to wait a ton of time. Voila. And then if we turn it over, we can see where our overhang is. I take my X-Acto knife and I can just follow this line here. And there we go. Perfect fit. Okay, but now we have our white edge and our white edge. So we're going to do just like we did all the other times. If only I knew where my marker was. Okay, that's right here. So I've got a Copic marker. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go from this side, always go from the back of what you're doing, and I'm just going to go right along there. I'm going to blend that in. Okay, do the same on this side. There we go, and if we want, we can do it along the top also. I mean, we really shouldn't see this, but you never know, so it's always good to hide those edges. All right, so there we are. Okay, so we're gonna let this sit over there and dry. What I'm gonna do, since you guys have seen during this project plenty of me painting things and staining things, and I'm sure it's very boring, I'm gonna go ahead and paint these here brown. I'm gonna stain these the same cognac that I have all the other, the stair railings, all the trim is the same color. I'll stain a bunch of this stuff and we'll get to working on this. All right, see you back in a few. All right, so that's the end of episode 2, and a big thanks to future me for popping in with that dire warning about how as much as you think you know what you're doing, sometimes you don't. So anyways, it's all good because it is fixed in the future as well. More or less, I'm fairly sure. I haven't put the flooring down on the other side of it to check yet, but we'll see. Anyways, got a good feeling about it. So, at any rate, so that was episode 2. Coming up next, we are going to do some more of the finishes, and the door hinges and wallpaper again, and that sort of thing. So Hope you guys enjoy, and I'll see you then. Hej med Estef. Bjärna Fleiv. Bye.